two aspirants writing an essay. One gets 140, another gets 90. This is a very strange situation where people don't understand what is it that someone has written which has given him 140, while even while you would have thought that you have written everything correctly, you have ended up getting a mediocre 85 to 90. In this video, my dear friends, I'm going to bring 20 years of my experience to help you understand why two essays which look almost similar, or two people who have written essays having the same feeling that they have written a good essay, end up getting, somebody getting more and somebody getting less. I'm going to be breaking that down for you in this video. I'm going to help you with 4 elements which determine how an essay can actually reach 140 marks instead of getting stuck at 85 to 90 marks. Okay. The very first element that determines a good essay. See, I have used my own, uh, you know, I've used my own terms, my dear friends, to help you understand better. If you can remember this, not just for your exam, but even while you're practicing to write an essay, when you're preparing for an essay, if you can just remember these 4 elements, let me tell you, crossing 120 is very, very easy. When I say this, I'm saying from a place where I have scored extraordinarily well in essay. Fair enough, my dear friends. So, element number one. As you all very well know, essay always has to start with a great introduction. For this, I give a name called Insta Principle. You might be thinking what this Insta Principle is. In one of my previous videos, I had called this the Facebook Principle. Now I would like to call it Insta Principle because a lot of people view Instagram now. So uh, I'm sure you know how the Instagram actually works, right? I- When you see the app icon and you just click on it, hmm, after that, the app decides how much time you will have to spend on it, right? The app continuously ensures that your attention is maintained there. The app is not only grabbing your attention, it's holding your attention for long. In fact, you do not decide when you have to come out of the app. The app decides when you will have to leave the app. Until then, you're scrolling, you're consuming, right? That is how an introduction has to be, my dear friends. If you write the same old introductions because somebody told you, write an anecdote, start with a proverb, start with some boring case study. I mean, nobody would ask you to start with a boring case study, but somebody asked you to today, I'll tell you, my dear friends, in this world of noise, okay, to be able to get someone's attention to what you are communicating is a very, very challenging thing. You need to acknowledge this. Plus, you also have to take into due consideration the fact that the evaluator who is evaluating your essay is evaluating it along with some 35 other essays. And for someone like this who is already saturated with lot of information, you're trying to bring all his attention into what you are writing, right? So you will have to become, when you write your introduction, like the Instagram app, my dear friends. Fair enough? Hmm? The coming into once the evaluator starts to read your essay, the essay will have to decide when his attention has to go out. If you can bear this one thing in the mind and ensure that you have got all the attention of the evaluator into your essay in the very beginning, just like how the Insta does, and you're able to sustain it, my dear friends, through that introduction. Through that introduction, if you're creating that, anxiety and excitement in him that, hey, there is something great that's going to be there in this essay. It's something different. It's not the ordinary essay that I've been evaluating for the last, 20 or 30 scripts. Then I'm telling you, you've already half won the game. Is that fine, my dear friends? So the first element, always remember, is Insta principle. Work on the principle of Instagram. Okay? Grab the attention. Not only that, sustain the attention. That is what introduction has to do. One, grabbing. Hey, wait, something good is there. Two, hey, this is actually good. All right. If you're able to do both of those things, then you have 50% of your work is actually over, because the evaluator has already made a commitment that he's going to read the whole essay. Fair enough? Now, the second thing that I have to share with you, the second element that I have to share with you, which makes a great essay or even can break when not taken into due consideration. See, you have been preparing for exam for a long time. Before you would actually get into this essay writing and all that, there are years together of preparation that you have done. Yes or no? Correct? Now, having done years of preparation, don't you feel, my dear friends, you have huge reservoir of knowledge within you? Correct? You have huge reservoir of knowledge within you, right? Now, what happens to a lot of aspirants when they see a topic, they feel they are dry of information. They feel they have scarcity of information. They feel like, "Arre, on this topic, what will I write?" I'll tell you. Of all the 8 topics that they would have given, even if it is unrelatable to you at the outset, let me share with you, thanks to 3 to 4 years of your preparation, you will have lots and lots and lots of things which is useful for the topic, my dear friends. But you know what most people don't do? They don't pause for a second and try to think about what they know about it. Now, let me break this down for you so that you understand it in a better way. Think about our brain and all the supporting things that the brain has. Think about it in terms of 2 parts, my dear friends. At any point of time, consciously what you are consuming or what you are doing from a conscious space, as you very well know, is limited, my dear friends. Yes or no? Correct? Because see, this second, if I'm doing something with 100% of awareness, yeah, the very next second I'm doing something else. So the conscious space within me is extremely small, right? But then so much information that is actually going inside is going and settling down somewhere, right? As you very well know, this brain, my dear friends, my NLP coach used to say, your brain has only one door. You can only take the information. There is no back door for the information to escape. So all this information that you are consuming, my dear friends, is going and settling down somewhere, right? Now, what happens when you see a topic and you are just at the outset, just going by the wording of the topic, if you feel, "Arre, in this, I don't know anything," you are actually missing out on something very powerful. You know what you are missing out on? You're missing out on the treasure. You know what is the treasure that I'm talking about? It is this unconscious reservoir of knowledge within you. Anybody who is preparing for civil service exam, anybody who's investing 2 to 3 years for civil service exam, trust me, my dear friends, would know a lot of things just by default. Just by reading those books, a lot of knowledge would have entered into your system, would have gone and settled down in your unconscious reservoir. Okay. Now, this unconscious reservoir has treasure of knowledge. What you have to do, if you will have to use it, you will have to do the treasure hunting. That's the second element. Do the treasure hunt. Now, what is treasure hunt? Treasure hunt you do when you pause, you breathe in, you breathe out, and just allow what is there in the unconscious to surface to the conscious. If you can just give yourself 3 minutes of silent time, my dear friends. Hey, wait, let me think. What all I know about this? You'll be surprised with the number of things that's going to come out. You have to give time, mind you. You can't be forcing it. All right. You can't think, "Arre, nothing I'm getting on this topic." No, please don't do that, my dear friends. Especially in the last few years, UPSC has been giving a lot of topics that seem abstract from the outside. Correct? Such kind of topics needs you to take time and think. When you think, you're creating those channels by which your unconscious starts to surface to the conscious a lot of things that you know about the topic. When these things start to surface, immediately start to scribble them. This is in simple terms also called by some as brainstorming. Okay, but I would call it as treasure hunting, because here you're giving yourself time and trying to, get the treasure which is fragmented. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you, my dear friends? Perfect. This is the second important thing. I'll tell you, my dear friends, wherever I've did this with my students, when they have said, sir, I can't write anything on this topic, nothing do I know on this topic, I've told, no, 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 sit back, think. 5 minutes you think about it. You'll get a lot of things. Actually, they have ended up writing a 1,000-word essay. And I mean, there is a third step, how you actually reach the 1,000 word. Second step is to first get a lot of information, my dear friends, which is actually in the unconscious to the conscious space. Fair enough? Is that okay? So the first principle is the Insta principle. The second principle is the treasure hunt. You know now what is Insta principle. Insta principle is not just grabbing the attention, it's also about sustaining the attention. What is treasure hunt? Helping the treasure that is there in the unconscious to surface to the consciousness. And as it surfaces, scribble it. And after scribbling, you get to the third element of essay writing, which is very, very important. The third element is Lego blocking. You know what is Lego blocks, right? Lego, the kids keep playing with it. Okay. In the Lego blocking, you're going to do two things, my dear friends. In the treasure hunt, all that had surfaced to your consciousness and all that you had written down somewhere, okay, what you have to do is you will have to start clustering them. Or if there is another appropriate word that I can use for it, put them into different buckets. What I mean by this, see, for all those words that you feel fit into one category of information, start bucketing them. Okay, for example, see, there is a topic, let us say, with great power comes great responsibility. Fair enough. Now, you are thinking, let me write various dimensions of power and responsibility, of the correspondence between power and responsibilities. There are some things that you have got in the political sphere. There are some things which you have, while you were doing the treasure hunt, you've got from historical sphere. There are some things which you have got from international relations dimension. Now, what you do, you start to bucket them now. Put randomly whatever you would have got in polity, put it under polity. Randomly whatever you had got it in IR, in economy, start bucketing them, start clustering them. Fair enough? In simple terms, if I will have to say, my dear friends, you have to organize, you'll have to structure. Now, till you do all of this, don't start writing the main essay. Is that okay, my dear friends? See, in an essay, the beautiful thing is, uh, the more you spend time on preparation, the more that you spend time on treasure hunt and organization, the less time you will need to actually write the essay. Is that fine, my dear friends? So when you do the organization, you have a lot of substance to write the essay. Fair enough? But still the essay has not reached its 140 mark. By doing just so much, you have already reached 100. How is the next 40 marks coming? The 40 marks comes with an aha climax. Remember this, aha climax. Now don't relate to whatever that can come to your mind right now, okay? When I say what I say, I would want you to relate to a good movie that you have watched in your life. Whenever you watch a nice movie, my dear friends, when the movie gets over, okay, you're, let's say, watching it in a theater, the movie gets over and there is a wonderful climax, you actually go out with a great feeling, with some kind of dopamine release, with some kind of, wow, this is how a climax should be, right? That is how you have to conclude your essay. Your essay cannot be plain, simple, and fence sitting kind of conclusion. It can't have a conclusion like that, my dear friends. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? The climax need to be like this. See, in Insta principle, what you did, you grabbed the attention, you sustained the attention, right? That's what you did in the Insta principle. Then, thanks to treasure hunt, thanks to proper organization, the evaluator was able to read the whole essay. Now he has come to the conclusion. In the conclusion, you will have to give them, you will have to give him this feeling that it was worth the time. What a wonderful conclusion. In fact, the person whose paper is going to be evaluated next also has to get good marks because of you. Because you put the evaluator on high energy now. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you, my dear friends? That's the energy with which you will have to leave the evaluator with. And it comes with great responsibility. Trust me, you can't conclude an essay just like the way you want. It has to leave him with that aha feeling. Okay, why I'm giving you this metaphor of aha feeling is, I'm sure whenever you would have watched a movie, there are so many movies where in the end you would feel, what kind of climax is this? And in some movies you would feel, ah, this is how a climax should be. You feel like getting back to that movie. You feel like watching that movie again, right? So that's how we must feel. Must feel like this is how the conclusion has to be. Such a powerful conclusion, such an optimistic conclusion, such a, I mean, leadership is absolutely present throughout the essay and the conclusion. All right. And like a letters are, if you see a letter, it always has a sign at the end, right? That signature of leadership should be a conclusion, my dear friends. Fair enough? Is that okay? So bear these four elements in your mind when you're writing an essay. I've given you powerful metaphors, my dear friends. The Insta principle, the treasure hunt, the Lego blocking, and the aha climax. If you can remember these four things and practice writing your essays on these four principles, trust me, my dear friends, nobody can deprive you of a 140 plus in the exam. All the best, my dear friends. Do extraordinarily well. Thank you.